Pro Football Network just released a mock draft, and they had J.J. McCarthy going 8th to the Falcons. Now, I haven't seen this a ton recently, but I do imagine we are going to see it a lot leading up to the draft because I do think it's going to go quarterback, like we just said in the last segment, which leaves you with the 4th best quarterback potentially being available at 8th. And when you're a team like the Falcons, and there's a lot of teams behind them, the Vikings, even the Jets, maybe if you want them to sit them behind Aaron Rodgers, the Raiders. There's a lot of teams right there.
Steelers.
There's a lot of teams that are going to be looking for a quarterback. And he, I think, in my opinion, is going to establish himself above the rest. If the Falcons took J.J. McCarthy at 8th, Alex, what would your reaction be?
It wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good. Initially, I would sit on it and kind of, wrap my head around it and come across the other side and kind of just accept it, swallow the pill that basically they think this guy can be a franchise quarterback and then just let it play out from there. What I think at that point doesn't even matter. We just have to, kind of swallow the pill and hope he can be that franchise quarterback. The reality is most quarterbacks are seen as being overdrafted at some point in time, other than the first and second guys. And then that was that weird year where the Bears traded up to get Mitchell Trubisky. But even when the Chiefs selected Patrick Mahomes, people were kind of scratching their head like, ugh. So no matter what, teams are going to have, that PR backlash of like, oh, you drafted this guy with the 8th overall pick. In an ideal world, we get an 8th overall pick. We get, a Dallas Turner. We get one of those 2 tackles. We get, a Malik Neighbors, Odunze, and then maybe trade back into the first round for a guy like J.J. McCarthy. That would be an ideal world where you still get that, 4 years and a 5th-year option with the rookie quarterback while also still using that top 10 pick to kind of surround him with talent. That's an ideal world. But again, I think that would be an overdraft, but everything looks like an overdraft until you're right.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you think, you just named a few names, but if it goes 1, 2, 3, quarterback, and this is a very good loaded first round of a draft class, the Falcons are going to be sitting pretty with the opportunity to take a blue chip prospect with the 8th overall pick. So yes, but I think one interesting aspect is Zach Robinson and who his preference is, because I think he's going to have a big say in who the next quarterback in the Atlanta Falcons is, who we might like in the draft. You spoke about Patrick Mahomes, and it's funny because Zach Robinson, which I did not know this, used to work for Pro Football Focus, and he worked there when Patrick Mahomes was coming out of the draft. And the guys at PFF that were his colleagues were on a podcast talking about how Zach Robinson was in love with Patrick Mahomes. Like, he had Patrick Mahomes as like his top quarterback, way ahead of everybody else. Obviously, he looks like a genius. So you do have a guy that you probably can trust when evaluating this process a lot more than you can trust me or you. So if for some reason he loves J.J. McCarthy, I think you should almost get a little bit excited about it. I know it would be shocking, and this is why I don't think it's going to happen, because I don't think J.J. McCarthy's Patrick Mahomes. But I'm just saying, if he falls in love with one of these prospects enough to take him 8th overall, we should probably take his word for it, because he has a pretty damn good track record.
Yeah, I think that, his predecessor got the benefit of the doubt, and it was the wrong decision to give Arthur Smith that kind of leeway when it came to choosing his quarterback. Most head coaches or just offensive-minded guys, whoever's in charge of the offense, is going to have a say in who the quarterback is. The Falcons just made the mistake of giving Arthur Smith pretty much autonomy when it came to the quarterback position, and ultimately it cost him his job. Zach Robinson, his track record kind of speaks for itself. Are you going to give him complete autonomy? Of course not, because he's not going to be here forever. But you still got to weigh his opinion, considerably, given his track record, the Patrick Mahomes, his work in LA. Raheem Morris obviously trusts him. But when it comes to J.J. McCarthy specifically, I think that, the national fan base, particularly the Falcons, just have the wrong idea of who J.J. McCarthy is and who he can be. He is not going to be the Michigan J.J. McCarthy that we all saw this year and last year, a run-dominant offense, one that didn't necessarily set him up in terms of passing concepts to succeed. He's got a lot of athleticism. He's more athletic than Desmond Ridder, which a lot of people don't really give him credit for. He's got a live arm. It's not a great arm, but he's got a live arm, more than enough to get the job done. And listen, the most important thing, he's not 25 years old like Michael Penix. He's 20 years old. He's a ball of clay that can be cultivated into anything that Zach Robinson and Raheem Morris see fit. So I don't necessarily hate the idea of a prospect like J.J. McCarthy. In fact, I would put, I said it in the past segment, and I'll repeat it again if you missed it. It's Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels. I'll have to reset here. And then it's J.J. McCarthy and Bo Nix even further down than Jaden Daniels. And then a lot further down, it's Michael Penix. Michael Penix has the best arm out of those three. But I think that you saw his flaws were just illuminated in that national championship. He's 24 years old or 25 years old. He's had several catastrophic knee injuries, and he's not exactly this picture-perfect prospect that a lot of fans thought he was prior to the national championship. Me and Chase watch every single college football game known to man. Chase watches a little bit more late night than me, which is what all Washingtons were for the most part. And we saw these flaws throughout the season. And you said it best. It feels like nobody really watched Michael Penix and outside of those Oregon games and then against Texas. And it feels like everybody's like, oh, this guy's going to go in the top 10. This guy's barely a second-round pick. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes on day 3. I really wouldn't. But
yeah, I think that's going to be the
Bo Nix and J.J. McCarthy are 20 years old. They're like 4 years.
No, Bo Nix is old too. Bo Nix is old as hell too. He was at Auburn for like 4 years. He's like 23, 24, but so is Jaden Daniels. So I don't think it's all about age. But I do agree with J.J. McCarthy. I think he's the clear-cut fourth guy in this draft class. And I think you're right on the ball, Clay. I wouldn't hate it as much as some people, but 8th does feel like a reach. Coming up after the break, Alex Anthopoulos talks about not adding jerks to the Braves.